Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Kim Barrett Show. I am your host, Kim Barrett, and on today's episode, we're actually doing something a little bit different. So this is what we call our Mogul series. Now, the Mogul series is where we speak to people that are becoming moguls in their industries. And of course, they got to be working with us to become moguls, because I mean, how else is that going to happen, right? So today's episode is the amazing Miss Stephanie Gorton. So we're going to break down a little bit of her journey, what she does, how she helps people, and what she's experienced over the last couple of years in growing her businesses. So this is an episode that you will not want to miss, but let's jump into the show. Steph, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate you making the time.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here,
Absolute
always.
Pleasure. Now, of course, I would be remiss if I didn't start this episode the same as every other, which is Steph. If I met you at a party and you and I were just hanging out, having a couple of drinks, and I said, what is it that you actually do? What's your go-to answer?
I help women to systemize and strategize their businesses to take them from 0 to 6 figures. That would be what I do. But when you say what do you actually do, probably help them to believe in themselves and get out of their own way. Yeah, realistically.
So out of all the clients you've worked with, how many need to do that?
How many need to?
Yeah.
All of them. Yeah, all of them.
Yeah.
They're all in their own ways. They're all making up stories about why they can't do something or why they're too scared or who's going to judge them or whatever. Yeah.
Cool. I love that. So paint, like, for everyone that's listening, paint them a little bit of a word picture, right? Because you didn't always do that.
No.
Right? You didn't just wake up, come out of the womb and be like, I'm just going to help people get out of their own way and create businesses. And
Definitely not.
Yeah.
Definitely not. Yeah. Okay, cool. So, I mean, like, how far back do I go?
So, because obviously you would have done, you tell a bit of the story. So,
All right.
when did you start in business?
Yeah,
What was
cool.
that business, and then what was the transition like?
Yeah, sweet. So I worked a corporate job for forever and didn't realize really that entrepreneurship was something that anybody could do. I thought that you had to be special to have a business and to be a business owner. And then I basically started a little business, just a side hustle, really to get kind of out of my corporate day job, but mostly just to give me something to do on the side. I met my partner, Tim, and I remember thinking to myself, well, he's so passionate about what he does. Like, he was getting up at like 4:45 in the morning and he was like excited about it. And I was like, anyone who's getting up at 4:45 in the morning and who's pumped about it, like, I want some of that, you know? And so I created this business called House of Hobby, which was really around creative workshops. And the whole premise behind House of Hobby, which were creative workshops, but it was about helping women to find hobbies for themselves, because so many women in today's society, we put other people before ourselves. So our kids and our husbands and, you know, our families first, and we very rarely make time for ourselves. And so that was really the premise behind these creative workshops. They were served with bottomless booze because I think we need to have a little bit more fun from time to time. That was really the side hustle, and that blew up. It blew up really quickly. It was exactly what Perth needed at the time that I created it. I kind of thought maybe I fluked it at first, and that went so well that within 9 months I was able to quit my day job and work in it full time. And then within 18 months, you know, we had a management team and a team of 14 casuals and admin staff and offshore staff, and we were running, you know, 10 to 12 weekend events. And it was a lot of work. It was a very big, anyone who works in events will know it's huge. And then I very quickly was, you know, getting asked a lot, like, how did you do it? How did you do it so fast? How did you do it within 18 months? And so I just started teaching people one-on-one, and then I created a small coaching course, which grew very quickly as well. And when COVID hit, I kind of had the chance to really assess what I was doing, because my events business obviously shut down momentarily, and it kind of gave me the chance to see that my heart wasn't really in it anymore. And so I recently sold that business and moved into coaching full time, which has been so incredible.
Making the transition from a business where you're dealing with people, they come, then they leave and they're done, versus coaching people on an ongoing basis, like 3 months, 6 months, for a year ongoingly. What have been some of the big differences that you've noticed in there? Because a lot of people these days go, oh, you know, Steph's a business coach. Surely I can be a business coach. Kim coaches people in marketing. Surely that's easy. Your partner, Tim, he just trains people. Surely I can just train people online. It's going to be simple. What have been some of the things that you've noticed that have been either pitfalls or a couple of hurdles that you've had to navigate through?
Oh, so many. I think one of the biggest things I think about business coaching that people don't realize is how much emotional stuff you have to handle from people. It's actually not you do a lot of business strategy, but you're really helping people to step out of their comfort zones and such. As a business coach, I think, and even as a marketing coach, you're encouraging people to step out of their way so much and out of their comfort zone to put themselves on display and to get in front of people and to really, establish themselves as brands. You have to force them out of their comfort zones, and that comes with a level of resistance and a level of fear that you have to push through, which is, for me, working with women, a lot of tears and a lot of trauma and stuff come up. And I really think that you need to be able to handle that, because it's a lot. So the first thing is that I think, it's a lot of emotional stuff. Additionally to that, I think that there's a lot of fluff out there. I think you'll agree. There's a lot of coaches that are selling, you can do it and it's going to be amazing, and there's not a lot of strategy going around, and there's not a lot of exactly how you can achieve it and exactly how you can do it. And I think that, the big leap for me was when I figured out that, yes, I can empower people, and I have a, NLP practitioner certification, but that really wasn't where I wanted to be. I wanted to be helping people strategize and grow really quickly. And so the minute that I framed it from being less about mindset and more about here's this, replicate this, do this, put this into your business and watch it explode, was probably the point where I started taking myself more seriously as a business coach, and also when I started to grow quite quickly as well. So I do think that people think it's going to be easy to just talk to people, but there has to be a level of strategy. When you're saying that you're going to get someone a result, you have to get them a result, or you have to help them get a result. And then the last thing would probably be, I think you'll agree with this, you can only lead a horse to water. A lot of clients, you can give them all of the strategy and all of the advice in the world, but if they don't implement it, then there's nothing that you can do. So it's really about finding the right people to work with rather than just anybody to work with.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. There's so many people where it's like, oh, cool, literally just do this. And then you speak to them again and it's like, cool, how'd you go with that? Haven't done it yet. Cool, so just do that. 2 months later, how'd you go with it? Still haven't done it.
Yeah,
So,
and I think we're all guilty of that. Like, Kim, there's been a few times where you've been like, Steph, have you done the thing? And I'm like,
yeah,
could have.
Steph, you just leave me on scene. I go, hey, Steph, have you done this? Question mark, question mark. Just following up, question mark.
Just leave Kim on scene a lot.
Yeah. Sure. Of course I have. Doing it right now.
We're all guilty, we're all guilty of that. But it's good, and that's when you find the right person, the people who are pushing you and holding you accountable, right?
100%. Now, obviously, I want to insert a little bit of YSV in here, a little cheeky, just Q&A. Yeah, exactly. So when you started, can I ask, what did you think it was going to be like working with us because you're in the Mogul Mastermind, which is a program we have, a 12-month mentoring and support program. What did you think it was going to be like?
I honestly had no idea.
Tim told me to do this thing.
Pretty much. Tim was like, these guys are good. We should sign up with them. And I was like, I just invested in another marketing course at the time. And I remember being like, I wasn't making a lot of money at that point. And I was a little bit like, I don't know if this is the right investment for me. And I don't really know who these people are. And having a male coach kind of intimidated me for a bit there as well, because I'd always worked with female coaches up until that point. And so when I first joined, I kind of thought, they're going to teach me how to do Facebook ads. That's pretty much all I thought it was they'll teach me how to do Facebook ads. Funnily enough, I still don't do Facebook ads.
But she turns them off.
I turn them off really often because
even when they make her money.
They work too well. That's the problem. But the hilarious part, that's what I thought it was, and what it actually is, which I think is probably what you're going to ask next.
Correct.
Oh,
there you
God,
go. Look at that.
picked it up.
Didn't even lead her into the question or anything, guys.
There's just kind of endless support, I think, and it's there when you need it, and it's there any time of day. And I think that there's so much value, there's so much knowledge in your team collectively. It's not just you. I thought originally when I was buying into Kim, but I've actually bought into a community or a team that they're just all there to help you, and you guys go above and beyond to help people. So just a support network, and also just, I think the mastermind's obviously ridiculous. They're so good, and the access that you guys have to moguls of their industry and people who are experts in the industry is way bigger than you'd be able to get access to from anyone else in Australia, I would say. So your connections and the way you guys deliver the message and make us feel special, it's beyond what I expected.
Awesome to hear. I'll give you that $50 for that.
Yeah, thanks. I'll send you the invoice.
Yeah. So obviously, as you mentioned, 2020 was pretty crazy. Selling House of Hobby, really doubling down on Steph Gorton in the coaching, and your mastermind and coaching as well. What's 2021 look like? Have you had a breath yet in between?
She saw me take one. I think I was
yeah. What's on the up and coming?
Yeah, look, I think next year is probably going to be a building year. I think I've had a few really fast growth years, and I think I need a stabilizing year next. So as much as money is great and it's coming and it's in a beautiful flow at the moment and it's abundant, I think it's really important to also be able to stabilize that. I want to get out of my business more. So I really want to focus on bringing the right people on board and creating systems and procedures so that I can take more of a step out and then, implement more plans for scale from that point onwards. So I'd say the first half of next year will be about stabilization and systems and procedures, and then probably the back end of next year, potentially launching a new program as well. So
awesome. Sounds exciting.
I'm excited.
Yeah. And I think it is so important because as you mentioned there, if you don't have the ability to remove yourself from your business, then you don't actually have a business. You have a job, which is cool if that's what you want. But if you go, cool, I want to be a business owner, but you can't take a week off, you can't take 2 weeks off, you can't take a month off, 6 months off. And there's a difference between being able to and not, and actually not being able to. Like for myself, I think with the team we have at the moment, I could, but at the moment I just choose not to.
Yeah.
Because she's like, take a day off on Monday. I'm like, I'll do a half day.
Yeah.
Like, and just because I love what we do and I love helping people. But if I was gone for 2 weeks, would it be really that different? Not really. Probably actually more would get done because I wouldn't come up with crazy new ideas and chuck them at the team.
100%.
Right? I'm like, yeah, cool. We're going to do a Mogul series podcast interview with Tim and Steph, guys. Get the room ready. Hurry up.
Yeah.
Last minute. Yeah, they could have just been
cool.
taking their time. So I wholeheartedly agree. And I think it's for everyone. If you do want to become a business owner, that's a huge and important goal for you to be able to focus on, because otherwise, I said, you just have a job. And if that's what you want to have, awesome. But, don't let that kind of fool you and be like, oh yeah, I have a business, which is great. And then wonder why you're, I have a business, I want to start it because I want to have so much freedom and be able to travel the world and sit on the beach and drink coconuts. And then you're like, why can't I go to the beach and drink coconuts? Now I have this business that I can do all this work in. Yeah.
The crazy thing is I get so many clients come to me, and you're so right, because they come to me and we call it I get a lot of virtual assistant clients and things like that come through, and they think that by creating their, quitting their day jobs and moving into these, virtual assistant roles, they're like, I'm creating the freedom. And I was like, you end up just creating a prison, but you've built it. You build yourself your own prison to be stuck in that, you might have more money, probably only slightly more, but you're still trading time for money. You still can't take a day off. Now, instead of having one boss, you have 10 bosses, and 10 people to communicate to and hold and be held accountable by. And I just feel like more often than not, I see so many people go into business for freedom and then they create the exact opposite because they're driving so hard for money that there's no structure there to support the freedom, Yeah.
How do you think, as a business coach, how do you think they could flip that on their head? Like if anyone's listening to this and they're going, maybe they're thinking and they're contemplating about starting a business or they've already got one, what do you think they could do at the beginning to avoid that?
The number one thing I see is that people go into business not really sure if it's going to work. They kind of hope it's going to work and they don't plan for it working. You really have to go into it with a bit of a vision. Okay, if this all does go to plan and everything goes the way that I expect it to, in 2 years' time, what do I want my world to look like? And that can't just be, I want to earn this amount of money, or a lot of people come to me and say, I just want to have enough money to do this. And I'm like, cool, well, what's the figure though? What's the actual number, what's the number? How many hours do you want to work? Where do you want to work? What kinds of roles do you want to do? Do you want to have a team? You got to be able to answer those questions for yourself in your business, because it's happened with me, especially with House of Hobby. It just grew and I was always reactive to its growth instead of proactive in it. And I was burning out all the time. I had full body rashes and I was crying all the time. And it was just so extreme because I just didn't plan for it. I didn't think it would happen. And I was always on the back foot because it did. So yeah, I would say just if everything went well, what would your business look like in your ideal world in 2 years' time?
It's so important. I did a podcast this week with a guy who's bought and sold something like $5.2 billion worth of businesses. And now he teaches and sets businesses up for scale. And that's the biggest thing that I took from him. He's like, it sounds boring. And it's because it is. It's not the exciting thing, turn Facebook ads on and do this amazing stuff, or launch this event and sell out your program and blah, blah. It's no. If you don't have clarity, you cannot proceed any further.
Absolutely.
It's you'll just keep hitting up against those walls because you're doing something for the sake of doing it. And it's the same as before. If you had a job or anything like that, you actually can't proceed forward.
No.
Because you don't know what you're moving towards.
Yeah.
And it's but then as soon as you get clarity, it becomes much easier and go, cool, now I can move down this path.
And it helps you make those decisions. Because when you get, every business is just a series of decisions that you make that help you get to the goal. But if you don't know what the goal is, the decisions become so labor intensive, you're sitting there for hours, you have analysis paralysis, and then you're kind of, stopping yourself from getting to the next goal because you're constantly stuck in this analysis cycle.
And it's tricky because you can still be successful in whatever that, you still can make money, you still can be growing, but you're not like, you have the things where you get rashes and you get stressed and overwhelmed and all this sort of stuff happens. But as soon as you actually get clarity, then it makes it so much easier. And for some people, it is growth and next level systems and planning. For some people, it's just cutting out a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, actually, you don't need to do any of that. Like we've had a couple of clients this year come to us who had then been pregnant. And I'm like, cool. So what do you want to do when this happens? I want to do this and this. Cool. No, let's just get rid of everything else. Like, don't try and focus on all these other things when you're like, now this is going to happen. So let's just make it a little bit smoother and easier for everyone.
Yeah. And
Don't
like,
put
how
this
can you
extra
bring?
stress.
Yeah, exactly. We like try and do too much. I totally agree. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I've got to ask this one question, which I asked everyone, which is, what's a question today that I haven't asked you that I should have?
I probably think, so we're going to ask enough is like probably what qualities it takes to be highly successful, because I do think that it comes down to a few key qualities.
What's the number one? I can't ask you the question and then I'll ask you the
question.
Yeah,
imagine if you just left it there. Right, awesome. Thanks so much.
See you next time.
The number one quality, I would actually genuinely say, can I have two? Can I have two?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be the number one, but yeah, top two?
Two. So perseverance, obviously, because you're just going to get knocked back time and time again, and shit's going to go wrong, and you're going to make massive mistakes, and they're going to cost you a lot of money, and you're going to feel like you're failing 24/7, and you just have to keep going and finding a way. And the second thing would be, I just think really, really good communication. I really think it's such an underrated skill set to have in today's day and age, being able to communicate with your clients, being able to communicate with your team, being able to communicate with your partner. Hey, babe, I'm not going to be able to, hang out for the next 3 nights. Don't leave me. But you need to have those conversations. And I think that communication comes in, if you're time blocking your weeks, it's like you have to communicate that with the people that you're time blocking with. And if you're, working with your team, it's like communicating, well, these are the projects we have coming up, or this is what you didn't do well. And it's about communicating that in a way that doesn't alienate people, but makes them feel like we're building together and we're stronger together. And I really think it's such a key point to success that I think a lot of people lack or miss or don't work on because they don't think it's a valid skill set.
I love that, guys. They're the top two. Make sure that you have them.
Write it down.
Now, for anyone that's listening to this and they're going, this Steph girl, she seems pretty cool, and they want to find out more about you, where's the best place for them to connect with you online and find out more about what you're up to?
Yeah, totally. To connect and talk to me directly, you should probably jump on my Instagram, which is Steph Gorton __.
Yeah, look for the little blue verification
tick,
guys. Yeah, I mean, she's kind of a big deal.
Hardly. But yeah, Instagram is probably the best place where you can actually come and have a bit of a chat with me. And then additionally to that, you can check out more about me and my story on my website, which is www.stephgorton.com.
Awesome. So guys, we will have that all linked up. So whether you're watching this online or listening to it, scroll up or scroll down, check out the show notes, and we'll have a link to everything that Steph's doing on there. And if you know someone who's starting a business, or maybe they've just started, or maybe they're looking to find out what that next step is for them, please share this episode with them so that they can find out more about what they're kind of missing out on. Maybe they're missing those two qualities, or maybe it's just that they don't have clarity. Make sure you share this episode with them so that they can find out more. Until next time, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. And Steph, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you making the time.
Thanks.
Cheers.